My mom gave my sister a $50,000 BMW for Christmas. My gift? A piggy bank with $1 inside. I just smiled and went home. The next morning, I left them a Christmas gift on their doorstep that made her call me nonstop. My name's Jake. I'm 31. Oldest child. The designated fixer. If a sink backed up, I was there with a wrench. If a bill came due, my card happened to be on file. I keep my hair short, my inbox clean, and my savings in separate buckets labeled with boring names like emergency, taxes, and someday. I work in logistics for a healthcare supplier. I negotiate shipping rates and babysit spreadsheets. It's not glamorous, but it pays steady. I rent a small one-bedroom. I cook most meals. I run 3 miles before work because numbers are easier after sweat. My sister, Ivy, is 3 years younger and has never met a consequence that stuck. She cycles through jobs like outfits. She launches projects, collects deposits, and forgets deliverables. When it goes sideways, she cries in a soft voice, and people hand her solutions. Mom says Ivy is sensitive. Dad says I'm hard. Translation: Ivy gets the cushion. I am the cushion. Christmas Eve, our house smelled like cinnamon and floor polish. Mom had the formal living room staged like a catalog spread. Candles nobody ever lights. A tree that looked too perfect to be real. It wasn't. Everyone in the dining room. Mom called, voice bright, face tight. She loves occasions where she can be seen being generous. We were halfway through the dessert when she did the thing where she clinks a spoon on glass and says, I have a surprise. She looked around to make sure everyone was looking. Everyone always is. Dad wheeled it out the front door first. Actually, he wheeled out the idea of it. The bow was on the key fob, and the key fob was in a velvet box. For Ivy, Mom announced. Because this year she's really turned a corner. Ivy pressed a hand to her chest and did the breathy gasp. Mom. No way. Way, Mom said. Go look in the driveway. We shuffled outside like obedient extras. The car sat there under the street lamp. A white BMW with temporary plates and the words Merry Christmas written in fake snow on the windshield. Ivy squealed. Mom teared up. Dad looked like he'd just completed a mission. I stood there thinking about the time last spring when I floated Mom and Dad's 6 months of mortgage while Dad was between contracts. Or the time I paid Ivy's past due tuition to keep her from getting booted from classes she never finished. Nobody filmed those moments. No velvet box. Back inside, Mom handed out the rest of the gifts. Socks for Dad. A diffuser for me. A piggy bank shaped like a cartoon pig with a single dollar inside. She laughed when I turned it over and the coin clinked. A reminder to save, she joked. Cute, I said. I smiled like a polite stranger. My jaw ached. Ivy hugged Mom again. You're the best. I'm going to cry. Mom glanced at me. Don't be weird, Jake. It's Christmas. Dad added. Try to be happy for your sister. I am, I said. My voice sounded even. I am good at even. But then Ivy tilted her head and said it. Maybe now you'll stop lecturing me about money. It was like someone flicked a switch. The room got too bright. My ears rang. I saw the piggy bank on my lap and pictured every payment I'd made for this family, every late night I'd worked overtime, every time I said, don't worry, I've got it. I set the pig on the coffee table and stood up. Thanks for dinner, I said. I kissed Mom's cheek, hugged Dad, and even patted Ivy's shoulder. I didn't fight. I didn't explain. I didn't ruin the photo. On the drive home, the road was quiet and the sky was clear and I could finally hear my own thoughts. I made tea. I washed my one good skillet. I sat at my small kitchen table with a pen and a stack of old envelopes and wrote 3 short notes. I slept like a rock. Here's what people don't see when they see a calm, oldest child walk away with a piggy bank. When Dad's back went out 2 years ago and his contractor buddy forgot to file the paperwork, I covered their property taxes so they wouldn't get hit with the penalty. We'll pay you back next month, Mom said. Next month turned into when the season picks up. Then, when the refinance comes through. Then silence. When Ivy accidentally took out a store credit card at 20 and used it like it was a coupon, I paid it off so the interest wouldn't eat her alive. Mom cried on the phone. You saved her credit, sweetheart. You really saved her future. Future arrived and promptly forgot me. 3 summers ago, their roof failed. A torrential thunderstorm peeled it like a sticker. Insurance lowballed them. I tapped my someday fund for the difference. I didn't make it a gift. I wrote a simple promissory note in plain language. Principal, 0 interest. Monthly amount. Signature lines. Dad signed. Mom rolled her eyes, signed anyway. We're family, she said. You don't need to make this so formal. It protects you, I said. What I didn't say, it also protects me. Month 1, They paid on time. Month 2, late. Month 3, nothing. Then, we'll catch up after Christmas. Christmas brought candles and the illusion of abundance. January brought nothing. Ivy's emergencies had seasons too. Spring, my laptop died the week of finals. Summer, the landlord is evil, he added fees. Fall, I can't work 2 jobs and pass marketing. That's toxic. Emergencies that always arrived in group texts, always wrapped in a victim story, always followed by, I hate to ask, but. I did the math last spring when I couldn't sleep. I pulled bank statements, highlighted transfers, added totals. In 3 years, I'd paid out the equivalent of a down payment on a house. My house. I kept the spreadsheet on my desktop under the name wrenches.xlsx because I didn't want to see it. You're so generous, relatives say to Mom. You raised such a helpful son. Mom raises her eyebrows like she's tired from the effort. There were other things too. Small cuts that didn't bleed at the time. The family phone plan in my name because my credit score was highest. We'll Venmo you monthly, Mom said. They did for 6 months, then stopped. When I paused Ivy's line after 6 months of silence, Mom called me crying. You're humiliating your sister. The car insurance that everyone promised to split. Spoiler, they didn't. When I reminded them, Dad said, we're in a rough patch. Ivy said, you can afford it. The group chat where screenshots go to die? Auntie's chiming in with heart emojis when Ivy posts new chapter selfies. Silence when I announce a promotion. The week before Christmas, Mom called with a list. We need extra folding chairs, 2 more sheet pans, and, oh, can you bring your credit card? Costco limits per card, and I don't want to make 2 trips. Sure, I said, because I'm trained. That same week, Dad cornered me in the garage. Listen, if Ivy needs help with a car, can you co-sign? Just to get her started. She's learned a lot this year. She's totaled 2 cars, I said. She's grown, he said. We can't hold the past against her forever. I didn't argue. I changed the subject. I went home and stared at that wrenches.xlsx file and wondered when I became the backup plan in a house where I paid for the generator. The night before Christmas Eve, Ivy texted me a photo of a perfume bottle with a price tag that made my throat close. Should I, she wrote, treat yourself? Do you have your rent? I typed. I erased it. I sent a thumbs up emoji. I hate myself a little for that. On Christmas, Mom watched me like a stage manager watches a weak actor. Smile, she whispered while we took photos. Try to act like you're part of this family. Then the piggy bank. Then the lecture. Then the line from Ivy about my lectures. On the way home, my steering wheel felt slick. My hands were dry. I realized suddenly that the thing about being the strong one is that people put rocks in your backpack when you aren't looking and then admire your posture. So I put the backpack down. I didn't blow up that night. I didn't post a thread online. I didn't call anyone to present my closing arguments. I wrote those 3 notes and set 3 alarms. 1 for 7 a.m., 1 for 7:05, 1 for 7:10. At 6:30, I made coffee. At 6:45, I put on my running shoes. At 7 o'clock, I drove across town where the clerk with the neat nails and the bored voice stamped papers I should have filed a year ago. Recording fees in the last column, she said without looking up. The stamp made a sound like a door clicking shut. At 7:40, I stopped by a small print shop. The owner knows me by first name from my job. He printed 10 copies of something I'd typed at 1 a.m. in a bulletproof font. At 8:05, I pulled into my parents' cul-de-sac. The neighborhood still had yesterday's lights drooping from gutter clips. A plastic reindeer stared at me with dead eyes. I placed a crisp manila envelope on the doormat under the wreath and rang the bell. Then I walked back to my car, sat behind the wheel, and waited with the engine off. Through the window, I saw movement. Dad opened the door, looked down, bent, picked up the envelope, disappeared. 30 seconds later, Mom's voice. Even through the glass, I could hear the pitch. My phone lit up, MOM. I didn't answer. It lit up again, Dad. Then IVY. Then MOM again. Then unknown, which is Mom when she thinks blocking her caller ID makes her a federal agent. By 8:20, it was texts. Jake, what is this? From Dad. Is this a joke? From Mom. You're sick? From Ivy. Then a photo of the first page lying on their kitchen island. My heading. My bullet points. My signature with today's date. The document was simple and calm. Page 1. A ledger of every payment I had made on their behalf since the roof. Dates. Amounts. What for? Notes like paid the exact past due to avoid lien and paid registrar to lift hold. Page 2. The promissory note from 2 years ago, now stamped and recorded as a lien against their house for the remaining principal. because I finally filed it. Page 3. A notice of cancellation effective next month for the family phone plan with instructions on how to port out numbers. Page 4. A formal demand for return of the spare credit card with my name that somehow lived in mom's purse for emergencies. Page 5. A reminder that I would no longer act as guarantor or co-signer for any account, now or ever. And then there was the little envelope inside the big one, labeled for Ivy. Inside, a copy of the text strings where she asked for money for rent, followed by photos of the concert wristband, the salon selfie, the weekend trip. A paper copy of the email she sent last fall listing me as emergency contact and financial guarantor on an apartment application without asking. A short note, remove my name by Friday, or I notify the landlord that the authorization is fraudulent. I didn't add insults. I didn't add adjectives, just facts and deadlines. At 8:30, Mom called again. This time I answered. What is this? She said. No hello. Documentation, I said. You put a lien on our house. Her voice cracked on lien, like it was a filthy word. I recorded the loan we already agreed to. I said. It protects both of us. If you keep paying monthly, nothing changes. You're trying to ruin us on Christmas. I filed at 7 a.m. on the 26th. I said. Christmas is safe. You canceled our phones? I canceled my plan. Yours can be yours now. You're heartless. I'm done being your bank. Silence. Then Dad got on. Son, listen, this is extreme. What's extreme, I said, is the expectation that I keep financing decisions I didn't make. We raised you, and I thanked you with a decade of payments. Then Ivy chimed in from somewhere near the phone. You're punishing us because Mom gave me a car. Grow up. You're welcome to keep the car, I said. Just remove me from anything that has my name on it. What are you even talking about? Check your apartment paperwork, I said. Another ping. Group chat lit up. Aunties. Cousins. Family doesn't do this, someone typed. Family also doesn't secretly put my name on leases, I typed back. Happy to share receipts. Jake, Mom said sharply. If you send those messages to anyone. I won't, I said. Unless you keep lying about me. How dare you threaten your mother? I am setting boundaries, I said. I should have set them years ago. I hung up. I sat there in my parked car with my hands buzzing. The adrenaline shook through me like after a sprint. I breathed. In 4. Out 6. My tea from earlier was cold but sweet. The quiet felt heavy and clean. The first 48 hours were loud. My phone lit up with opinions from relatives who hadn't texted me a birthday in years. Your mother is crying, Aunt May wrote. Fix it. Your sister is traumatized, another cousin wrote. You embarrassed her. Traumatized by consequences, I wrote. New concept for this group. I didn't send the receipts to the chat. I sent them one-to-one to people who lectured me. Not with commentary, just with the caption context. The volume dropped by half. Mom tried new angles. I didn't know the note was legal, she said in one voicemail, soft voice engaged. It has signatures, I said when I called back. That's how legal works. You tricked us. I wrote it in 12-point Arial. Dad sent a long text about respect and duty. I typed a short response. I respect myself too. Duty isn't servitude. Ivy posted a story. A close-up of the BMW steering wheel and the caption, some people can't stand to see you win. I muted her. My hand stayed still. 3 days later, the landlord from Ivy's place called me. Hi. Jake, this is Rachel from Maplewood Apartments. I'm calling to verify your guarantor status. I'm not a guarantor, I said. Remove my name. The application was submitted without my consent. A pause. We'll need a signed statement. I emailed it an hour ago, I said. Timestamped. Understood. That night, Ivy sent 13 messages in a row. You got me flagged with the landlord. Are you happy? Do you want me to be homeless? I want you to be honest, I wrote. Pay your rent without my name on it. Mom said you put a lien on the house to take it. I recorded a debt with 0 interest, I wrote. If you keep paying, nothing happens. You're disgusting. I didn't reply. Meanwhile, my life got quieter in a way I didn't know was an option. I cooked dinner without my phone buzzing. I logged into my banking app and didn't see mystery withdrawals. I took a run at dusk and felt lighter halfway through, like someone had reached into my chest and taken out a brick. At work, I stopped volunteering for every holiday shift, just in case someone needs me. I used the PTO I'd banked. I went to a movie alone on a Tuesday afternoon. I sat in an almost empty theater and laughed at dumb jokes and didn't explain it to anyone. A week later, Aunt May texted again, smaller now. Your mother says you plan to cancel the phone plan on the 15th. Are you sure? I'm sure, I wrote. I sent account transfer instructions. She doesn't know how. I included step by step with screenshots. I wrote, she can take it to the store. A different aunt, one who never liked me because I don't perform cheerful, sent a paragraph about honoring parents. I typed back, honor isn't being exploited. She saw it and left me on read. That felt like a boundary too. 2 weeks later, Dad asked to meet for coffee. We sat outside a place where the muffins are too big. He didn't order one. He laced his fingers together on the table and stared at them while he spoke. I'm angry, he said. I know, I said. I'm also embarrassed. He paused. That we needed the note recorded to keep our promises. We could have kept them without the stamp, I said. But we didn't. He nodded once. Your mother says you're punishing her. I'm protecting me, I said. He sat back. Ivy's lease is not my name, I said. He sighed. You know your mother will keep calling. I know. He looked up then, eyes older than I remembered. You always were the steady one, he said. We took advantage of that. I let you, I said. That's on me. This is me changing it. He nodded. Okay. He didn't apologize. He didn't promise to fix Mom. He did slide a folded check across the table for 2 missed payments on the roof note. Don't make a big deal, he said. I didn't. I took it, texted him a scanned receipt later, and applied it to the ledger like an accountant who finally got an accurate deposit. The house drama did what house drama always does. It spread. Ivy's boyfriend DM'd me something about family unity. I ignored it. A cousin who works in accounting asked me to send her the template for my promissory note for a friend. I sent it. A neighbor of my parents who always thought I was cold waved at me in the grocery store and said, saw your dad up on the roof last weekend finally fixing that flashing. About time. I smiled into the freezer case. The BMW lasted 2 weeks. Then Ivy tapped a pole in a parking garage. She posted a selfie with a pout and the caption, haters will say it's karma. I closed the app and went for a walk. By the end of January, the phone plan transfer was complete. Mom called me from her new number with a tremble. They made me pay a deposit, she said, scandalized. Deposits are normal, I said. You'll get it back if you pay on time. Silence. Then in a smaller voice, your father says your budget spreadsheet is smart. Happy to send a blank copy, I said. No, the voice hard again. We don't need your systems. Okay. We hung up. I exhaled a laugh that wasn't joy exactly. More like air leaving a room where a fire used to be. And in the quiet, new things had room. I took a class at the community college in the evenings because I wanted to learn SQL properly instead of just faking it with the lookups. I started sleeping 8 hours. On Sundays, I meal prepped like a boring Pinterest dad. My rent auto-drafted, and I didn't have to do math first. I texted friends and said, come over for chili, and they actually came, and we played cards, and nobody asked me for a quick favor. I kept a running list in my phone titled Proof I Did the Right Thing. Items included, woke up without dread, did not rehearse explanations in the shower, bank app, boring, ran 5 miles without thinking about anyone else's bill. And then, with the kind of timing the universe loves, something else shifted. Dad asked me to stop by one afternoon to move the old couch. I brought gloves. I also brought boundaries. When I walked in, Ivy was at the table with a stack of envelopes and a calculator. She looked up at me, ready for a fight, then looked back down. Mom stood at the counter shredding coupons like they'd insulted her. Dad dragged the couch through the back door. We set it on the curb. He stood there in the bright cold and said, without his usual throat clearing, I'm picking up extra work in February. We'll get current. Okay, I said. He looked at me for a second. Jake, I'm not good at this, but thank you for not exploding. It forced me to look at my part. I shrugged. I didn't do it to teach you a lesson. I did it because I was drowning. Still, he nodded at the house. It shook something loose. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The couch looked strange on the curb, like it had always belonged there. When people hear pieces of this story, they ask about the BMW and the piggy bank and the doorstep gift like those are the important parts. They're props. The real story is a sentence I wrote in my notes app that night after Christmas next to a checkbox I finally checked. I don't let myself be used. I'm not a hero for filing documents or canceling plans. I'm not a villain for refusing to be a wallet. I am a person who counted, who named, who said, enough, and then followed it with actions that matched. Mom still tells herself a version of events where I chose money over family. She has to. Otherwise, she'd have to look at the part where she handed her daughter a luxury car on the same night she handed her son a lesson disguised as a joke. Maybe one day she'll peel that layer back. Maybe not. Dad is paying. Slowly. I log each check in the ledger and email a receipt. We talk about weather and sports and sometimes nothing. It's not deep, but it's clean. Ivy and I are not close. She kept the BMW. She also kept the calendar reminder I forced on her brain labeled rent due. No, Jake. She'll learn or she won't. That's not my class anymore. If she texts me about hair appointments and emergencies in the same sentence, I ignore it. If she texts, I paid my own rent this month, I send a thumbs up. That's the most I can do without lying. What I got is small and enormous at once. Room. A morning where I make coffee and the quiet feels like a reward, not a punishment. A bank account that reflects my labor. A calendar where holidays are not traps. A life where helping means offering someone a chair, not carrying them and the chair and the table they refuse to fold. A few weeks after everything went down, I found the piggy bank in the back seat of my car. I put it on my kitchen shelf next to the spices. It's dumb and pink and a little insulting. I dropped a quarter in and it clinked. It makes me laugh now. Not bitter. Just a real laugh at a cheap symbol that accidentally told the truth. Save yourself. Put your own dollars somewhere you can reach. So, if you need a moral, that's mine. You can love people and still say no. You can show up without showing your wallet. You can forgive and also file. I don't owe anyone a performance of being the good son if the script is exploitation. I owe myself a life that fits. I owe future me a backpack without rocks. And the next time someone hands me a piggy bank with $1 in it and a joke on their face, I'll smile the same way, say thanks, and go home. And if I ever leave a gift on a doorstep again, it will be the same kind. Paper, quiet, honest, with my name at the bottom, and a boundary anyone can read.